The morning Evelyn Carter discovered she was pregnant, the wind rattled every loose window pane in her tiny apartment overlooking the Savannah River. The forecast had promised sunshine. Instead, gray clouds swallowed the city before dawn, and rain rolled across the streets in silver sheets, until every traffic light reflected in puddles like broken glass. She was 28 years old. She had exactly $538.17 in her checking account, a newly earned physical therapist license still tucked inside its protective envelope, and a boyfriend who had told her 1 week earlier that he needed a little time to figure himself out. She would later learn that time meant a non-stop flight to Denver, and figuring himself out meant a smiling brunette named Olivia, whose social media caption read, "Finally living the life I deserve." Evelyn never replied. She never even opened his message again. Instead, she sat on the cold bathroom floor, knees pulled to her chest, staring at 2 pink lines that refused to disappear. The pregnancy test rested on the edge of the sink. Small, plastic, silent, it somehow managed to feel heavier than everything else in the apartment. Outside, thunder rolled across Savannah Harbor. Inside, Evelyn tried to remember how breathing worked. She never called him. That became the first decision of her new life. Fast, clear, irreversible. Because Nathan Brooks had always been the kind of man who loved beginnings more than responsibilities. She had known it from the first month they dated. He adored possibilities, future plans, big dreams, adventure. He simply lost interest the moment those dreams became real. She had ignored every warning, because love at 27 still felt like something capable of fixing people. It wasn't. The second decision came less than 10 minutes later. She would keep the baby. No dramatic speech, no tears, no promises whispered into empty rooms, just one quiet sentence spoken aloud. "I'm already your mom." Everything afterward grew around those 6 words. 8 years later, Evelyn Carter was 36, head pediatric rehabilitation therapist at Mercy Children's Hospital, mother of an 8-year-old daughter named Lily. Lily possessed Nathan's deep brown eyes. Thankfully, absolutely nothing else. She had Evelyn's stubborn heart. At 8 years old, Lily believed facts were the highest form of kindness. She corrected museum tour guides, politely informed teachers when textbook editions contained outdated information, once interrupted a weather reporter on live television during a school field trip because he incorrectly described a tropical depression. The station later mailed her a handwritten thank you note. Another time, after hearing 2 adults complain about wrinkles, Lily announced, "Trees get rings when they grow older. Nobody calls them ugly." Neither adult knew how to answer. Evelyn nearly laughed herself to tears. Their life wasn't glamorous, but it was beautifully predictable. A small townhouse outside Savannah. Blue shutters. One vegetable garden Lily insisted belonged equally to the tomatoes and the rabbits. Friday movie nights. Saturday mornings at the community market. Sunday pancakes shaped like impossible animals. Lily always selected the ugliest peaches. "The pretty ones try too hard," she explained. "They're suspicious." She had no scientific evidence. She simply believed ugly fruit tasted grateful. Evelyn stopped arguing years ago. Nathan Brooks no longer existed in their daily lives. Not because Evelyn hated him. Hatred required maintenance. She simply ran out of room for him. Bills filled that space. Night shifts, school concerts, homework, doctor appointments, laundry, soccer practice. Life, real life, had crowded out every memory that wasn't useful. Until, one Tuesday afternoon, he walked back into it. Mercy Children's Hospital smelled faintly of coffee and disinfectant. As every hospital somehow always did, Evelyn had just finished a 13-hour shift helping a 6-year-old recover movement after spinal surgery. Her shoulders ached. Her feet burned. She wanted nothing more than leftovers, pajamas, and listening to Lily explain why. Octopuses deserved voting rights if humans ever discovered intelligent, underwater civilizations. She pushed open the staff hallway door. Stopped. A man stood beside the pediatric intensive care reception desk. Tall, dark navy coat, hands tucked inside his pockets. Still, not impatient. Simply waiting. There was something strangely familiar about the angle of his shoulders. Then he turned. Time performed one cruel trick. It slowed. Nathan, 8 years older. A faint scar crossed his jawline. Silver threaded through the dark hair above one ear. His face had become sharper. Less handsome, more honest. He looked like someone life had argued with. And life had won enough times to leave permanent marks. He didn't notice her immediately. She counted exactly 5 seconds. 5 seconds to leave. 5 seconds to pretend she hadn't seen him. 5 seconds to choose the easier future. Instead, she kept walking. Because she wasn't 28 anymore. Because Lily was waiting at home. Because soup was already thawing in the refrigerator. Because she had spent 8 years refusing to let one man decide the direction of her life. Nathan looked up. Recognition struck his face before surprise did. Then something deeper, something almost painful. Evelyn. His voice hadn't changed. That felt unfair. Nathan. She continued walking toward the employee exit. I didn't know you were back in Georgia. I'm not. He hesitated. I came because my mother is here. That made Evelyn stop. Against her better judgment. She collapsed 3 days ago. He looked exhausted now that she noticed. Not physically, emotionally. They found an aneurysm. The sentence hung between them. Hospitals stripped people down to essentials. Titles disappeared. Money disappeared. Old resentments often disappeared too. Only fear remained. I'm sorry, Evelyn said quietly. She meant it. He nodded once. Thank you. Neither mentioned the past. Neither apologized. Neither explained. She left. The next morning, her coworker Melissa cornered her in the therapy gym. Melissa possessed an extraordinary talent. She knew everyone's business before they themselves knew it. You know who that man is, right? Evelyn continued adjusting resistance bands. Someone I used to know. Melissa blinked. No. She lowered her voice dramatically. That's Nathan Brooks. I know. Brooks Urban Development? Yes. The Harbor Restoration Project? Probably. The Children's Housing Initiative? Evelyn looked up. What? Melissa frowned. You seriously don't know? No. He practically rebuilt half the coastal neighborhoods after Hurricane Isabel. She leaned closer. He's on magazine covers. Evelyn laughed softly. I don't read business magazines. Melissa stared. You're impossible. Maybe. Or maybe she'd simply stopped following people who walked away. That afternoon, Nathan appeared again. Not inside the therapy wing. Outside, near the employee courtyard, holding 2 paper coffee cups. He saw her. Walked forward slowly. I guessed. He lifted one cup slightly. Black. She stared. You remembered. I remember more than I should. Silence. Then she accepted the cup. Not forgiveness. Just caffeine. After 13 hours of work. Caffeine deserved its own category. I won't keep you long, he said. I wasn't planning to keep you at all. A tiny smile appeared. Gone almost instantly. I deserve that. He didn't argue. Didn't defend himself. Didn't mention Seattle. Didn't mention Olivia. Instead, he said, My mother keeps asking why I never settled down. Evelyn waited. I keep thinking about how I almost answered honestly. She frowned. What stopped you? You were the honest answer. The words landed softly. That somehow made them heavier. She looked away first. I have to pick up Lily. Nathan nodded. Okay. He stepped back immediately. No attempt to extend the conversation. No request for another chance. No dramatic speech. Just, take care, Evelyn. She walked away. Yet somehow, those 3 words followed her all the way home. Lily met her at the front door wearing one sock. Only one. The washing machine ate the other. It does that sometimes, Evelyn agreed. I've started documenting the disappearances. Reasonable. Lily accepted this answer without question. Over dinner, she announced she'd decided worms were probably happier than humans, because nobody expected worms to answer emails. Evelyn laughed harder than the joke deserved, mostly because she needed to. After bedtime, she stood alone in the kitchen, watching rain drip from the porch roof, thinking about Nathan. Not the 28-year-old who left, the 36-year-old who had stepped backward instead of closer, who accepted every sharp answer without complaint, who somehow looked sorry, not performatively, actually sorry. That frightened her more than anger would have. Because anger was easy, regret was complicated. She looked toward Lily's bedroom. The nightlight glowed beneath the door. 8 years, 8 birthdays, 8 Christmas mornings, 8 first days of school. He had missed all of them. Not because he knew and stayed away, because he never knew. Her hand tightened around the tea mug. For the first time in 8 years, a question quietly entered her mind. Did Lily deserve to know her father? Even if Evelyn no longer wanted anything from the man he had once been, the question refused to leave. It followed Evelyn through morning rounds, through therapy sessions, through paperwork, through grocery shopping. It lingered while folding laundry and while helping. Lily built a cardboard lighthouse for a school science project. It waited quietly behind every ordinary moment until ordinary moments no longer felt entirely ordinary. For 9 days, she didn't call Nathan. He didn't call her either. That surprised her. 8 years ago, he would have chased the conversation, explained, persuaded, tried to win. Now, nothing. Only silence, respectful silence. She wasn't sure which version unsettled her more. On the 10th morning, Melissa found her staring absent-mindedly into the staff refrigerator. "You've been holding yogurt for almost 2 minutes." Evelyn blinked. "I forgot why I opened the door." Melissa leaned against the counter. "Is this about Harbor Guy?" "We're not calling him Harbor Guy." "We absolutely are." Evelyn sighed. "He doesn't know." Melissa's smile disappeared. "Know what?" "About Lily." Silence. Then, oh, a very different kind of silence settled between them. Melissa slowly closed the refrigerator door. "He really has no idea?" "No." "Did you tell him?" "No." "Are you going to?" Evelyn rubbed her forehead. "I honestly don't know." Melissa considered her for several seconds. "I can't tell you what's right." "I know. But I can tell you something my grandmother used to say." Evelyn waited. Children eventually ask questions adults spend years avoiding. That evening, Lily was sprawled across the living room floor surrounded by books about marine biology. She had announced she intended to become either an ocean scientist or an astronaut, because someone needs to tell whales about space. Evelyn didn't ask for clarification. Experience had taught her clarification usually made things stranger. "Mama? Can I ask something?" Evelyn looked up. Lily rarely hesitated before questions. This time, she did. "My friend Emma has 2 dads." "She does. Oliver has 1 mom." "Mrs. Alvarez says every family is built differently." "That's true." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "So," she closed her book. "What kind is ours?" Evelyn's heart tightened. "The lucky kind." Lily smiled. "I think so too." A pause. "But," another pause. "Did my dad ever know me?" There it was. Not dramatic, not angry, just curious. Children rarely asked life-changing questions loudly. They simply asked them honestly. Evelyn moved beside her. "No." Lily frowned slightly. "Did he not want to?" "I never told him." "Why?" "Because I was scared. Because I didn't trust him. Because I thought protecting you meant protecting you from disappointment. Because I wasn't sure he deserved you." Instead, she answered with the only truth simple enough for an 8-year-old. "I thought it was the safest choice." Lily considered that carefully. "Was it?" Evelyn looked into the thoughtful brown eyes that looked so painfully familiar. "I don't know anymore." Lily rested her head against Evelyn's shoulder. "It's okay not to know." Children sometimes offered mercy adults forgot existed. Nathan's mother improved slowly. She left intensive care after 2 weeks, transferred to the cardiac recovery unit. The entire hospital quietly celebrated. Older patients who fought hard became victories shared by everyone, especially nurses, especially therapists. Nathan still visited every afternoon. Sometimes Evelyn saw him in the hallway. Sometimes she didn't. When they crossed paths, he smiled politely, never stopped her, never asked questions, never pushed. It became strangely easier, and somehow harder. 3 weeks later, Lily accompanied Evelyn to the hospital's annual family health fair. Children painted faces. Doctors performed free screenings. Therapists organized obstacle courses. Volunteers handed out balloons. Lily immediately disappeared toward the marine education booth. Of course she did. Sea turtles had somehow become relevant to community health care. Evelyn had long ago stopped asking how. She was helping another child adjust a balance board when she heard a familiar voice. "Excuse me." "Nathan." He froze the instant he noticed Lily standing beside the sea turtle display. Not because he recognized her. How could he? Because she laughed. Exactly the way Evelyn used to. Bright. Quick. Head tilted back. For one impossible second, Nathan simply watched. "There you are," Evelyn said quietly. He looked at her. Then back at Lily. "Your daughter." The words were innocent. Careful. Polite. Evelyn nodded once. "Yes." Lily turned around. "Mama." She ran over carrying a pamphlet. "Did you know loggerhead turtles can travel more than 8,000 miles? "I believe you mentioned something similar." Lily stopped, noticing Nathan. Oh. She smiled automatically. Hi. Nathan smiled back. Hi. I'm Lily. I'm Nathan. She extended her hand with complete seriousness. He shook it, very gently. I'm collecting interesting adults today. Nathan looked amused. Am I interesting? I haven't decided yet. Evelyn nearly laughed. Nathan actually did. A real laugh. Short, warm, unexpected. Lily pointed toward the educational posters. Do you know anything about turtles? Nathan admitted honestly. Not enough. She nodded solemnly. That's fixable. Before Evelyn could stop herself, she watched Nathan kneel beside Lily while the 8-year-old launched into a detailed explanation about ocean migration. He listened. Actually listened. Not pretending. Not waiting for his turn to speak. Listening. Evelyn stood a few feet away, unable to move, because something inside her had quietly begun breaking. Not in a painful way. In the way ice begins melting long before anyone notices the river moving. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Evelyn sat alone on the back porch. The spring air smelled faintly of jasmine. She replayed the afternoon again and again. Nathan had thanked Lily for teaching him something. Most adults forgot to thank children. He hadn't. Maybe people really could change. The thought frightened her. Because if people could change, then the decision she defended for 8 years deserved to be questioned. And questioning old decisions required admitting they had once been made by a frightened version of herself. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she decided. Tomorrow she would tell him. Everything. No more waiting. No more almosts. No more protecting everyone by carrying the truth alone. Nathan didn't come to the hospital the next day. Or the day after that. Evelyn told herself she wasn't disappointed. She had made the decision. That was what mattered. The opportunity would come. Life simply hadn't caught up with it yet. Then on Friday morning, Melissa hurried into the rehabilitation office holding her phone. Evelyn. She rarely sounded serious. This time she did. You should probably see this. Evelyn took the phone. The headline filled the screen. Brooks Development CEO injured during historic warehouse collapse. Her stomach tightened. Nathan had been overseeing the restoration of a 19th century waterfront building when part of the upper structure failed. 3 workers suffered minor injuries. Nathan had remained inside long enough to help 2 electricians escape before emergency crews arrived. He was taken to Mercy Children's neighboring trauma center with a fractured shoulder and several broken ribs. Melissa watched her carefully. You okay? Evelyn handed the phone back. She searched for the right word. Thinking. She tried not to go. Really, she reminded herself she worked in another department. He wasn't family. He wasn't anything, at least not anymore. By lunch, she found herself walking across the connecting corridor toward the adult trauma wing. Old habits, compassion, curiosity. She wasn't sure which one was winning. Nathan's room door stood half open. He was awake. His left arm rested in a sling. Bruises darkened one side of his face. He looked tired. When he noticed her, surprise flickered across his expression. I wasn't expecting visitors. I'm not really a visitor. She held up a chart she had borrowed from a colleague. I'm pretending to be professionally curious. A faint smile appeared. I've missed that. What? You making jokes right before saying something difficult. She looked down. I heard what happened. It could have been worse. It almost was. He nodded once. I know. Silence settled comfortably. Different from 8 years ago. Back then, silence had usually meant avoidance. Now, it felt like 2 people deciding not to rush each other. You saved them. Nathan shrugged carefully. I was closest. Most people run away from collapsing buildings. I've spent 8 years building places people are supposed to feel safe. He looked toward the window. It seemed wrong to leave first. Something about that sentence reached her, because 8 years earlier, he had done exactly that. Left first. Maybe he heard the thought she didn't speak. I know, he said quietly. I see the irony too. Evelyn pulled a chair closer. There was something I wanted to tell you. Nathan waited. No interruptions. No assumptions. She appreciated that. I almost told you last week. He looked at her. Then something shifted. Not understanding. Expectation. You said Lily doesn't know me. She doesn't. You said she deserves time. She does. He nodded. I agree. She blinked. I meant what I said. His voice remained calm. This isn't about what I deserve. It's about what she needs. The words surprised her enough that she forgot her prepared speech. Nathan continued quietly. If Lily never wants to know me, he swallowed. I'll respect that. If she wants to know me slowly, I'll go slowly. If all she ever wants is answers, I'll answer them. I don't get to arrive 8 years late and start making demands. Evelyn stared at him. 8 years ago, those words would never have existed. Later that afternoon, Nathan's mother insisted on meeting Evelyn. Margaret Brooks looked far healthier than she had in intensive care. Gray curls, warm eyes, a knitted blanket across her lap. So, Margaret smiled knowingly. You're Evelyn. Nathan sighed. Mom. What? She looked completely innocent. I've only heard your name in every conversation for the past 3 weeks. Nathan looked genuinely embarrassed. I'm recovering from multiple fractures. You'll survive. Margaret turned back to Evelyn. He never stopped regretting leaving. Nathan rubbed one hand over his face. Mom, I'm 80 years old. She folded her hands. I've earned the right to ignore your complaints. Evelyn laughed despite herself. Margaret smiled. There it is. What? That laugh. She looked at Nathan. He hasn't laughed like that in years. Nathan looked away toward the window. When Evelyn finally stood to leave, Margaret called softly after her. Whatever happens. Evelyn turned. And thank you for coming. She nodded once. Somehow, that simple sentence stayed with her longer than anything else. Saturday morning arrived bright and warm. Lily insisted they visit the botanical gardens. The butterflies requested an inspection. Naturally, Evelyn packed sandwiches, water bottles, apple slices, a notebook, because Lily believed every outing required field observations. Halfway through the butterfly conservatory, Lily stopped walking. Mama, what is it? That man looks sad. Evelyn followed her gaze. Nathan, standing alone near the koi pond, his arm still in a sling, apparently discharged that morning. He hadn't seen them yet. Lily looked back at Evelyn. Do you know him? A long pause. Yes. Hospital? Yes. Can I say hello? Evelyn looked toward Nathan. Toward Lily. Toward the quiet Saturday morning neither of them had expected. Okay. Lily walked ahead confidently. Nathan turned at the sound of footsteps. His face softened immediately. Hi. Hi. Lily smiled. You're less broken today. Nathan laughed. I hope so. I made an observation. She opened her notebook. You have the same eyes I do. Nathan froze. Not dramatically. Just completely still. Lily continued studying him with scientific seriousness. My teacher says genetics are fascinating. She tilted her head. Are we related? Nathan slowly looked toward Evelyn. She nodded. Just once. His eyes filled instantly. He didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't reach for Lily. Didn't assume anything. Finally, very quietly, I think... His voice broke. I think I'm your dad. Lily looked at him for several long seconds. Then she looked at Evelyn. You knew? Yes. And you were waiting until I was ready? Yes. Lily accepted that answer. The way children sometimes accepted enormous truths more gracefully than adults ever could. She turned back toward Nathan. I have a lot of questions. He smiled through tears. I've got the rest of my life to answer them. Lily considered this. Good. She held out half of her peanut butter sandwich. You should probably start with lunch. Nathan looked at the sandwich. Then at Evelyn. Then back at Lily. He accepted it with both gratitude and hands that trembled just enough to reveal how much this moment mattered. For the first time in 8 years, the three of them sat together beneath the spring sunshine. Not as a finished family. Not yet, but no longer as strangers. The first lunch lasted exactly 34 minutes. Lily announced this afterward because she had timed it. Long enough to determine basic compatibility. She explained while buckling her seatbelt. Nathan laughed. Evelyn tried not to. She failed. It felt strange. Hearing laughter that included all three of them. Not uncomfortable. Just unfamiliar, like wearing shoes that fit after years of convincing yourself the smaller pair was fine. Nothing changed overnight. That became Evelyn's rule. No dramatic reunions. No instant father-daughter weekends. No pretending 8 missing years could be repaired by enthusiasm. Instead, they started with Saturday mornings, always somewhere public. Always somewhere Lily chose. The aquarium, the botanical gardens, the science museum, the bookstore with the resident orange cat who ignored everyone except children. Nathan never complained. If Lily wanted to spend 45 minutes watching jellyfish, he watched jellyfish. If she decided every squirrel in Forsyth Park deserved its own biography, he listened seriously. If she wanted ice cream before lunch because she had developed a nutritional hypothesis, he negotiated exactly one scoop. Evelyn noticed something quietly remarkable. He never tried to impress Lily. He simply paid attention. 3 weeks later, Lily handed Nathan a folded piece of paper. "I made you something." He opened it carefully. Inside was a certificate written in large, uneven handwriting. Temporary dad license. Requirements. Shows up. Us listens and learns turtle facts. Doesn't lie. Expiration date? To be determined. Nathan stared at the paper for several seconds. "I've never received a license before." "You have now." "Does this mean I passed?" Lily considered. "It means you're on probation." Evelyn covered her mouth to hide a smile. Nathan nodded seriously. "Fair." He folded the certificate with extraordinary care and placed it inside his wallet. "I'll keep this. I expected you to." The following Thursday, Nathan visited Mercy Children's again, not because of his mother. She had finally gone home. Instead, he stood outside the rehabilitation department carrying 2 coffees. Melissa noticed immediately. "Oh." She looked between them. "So Harbor Guy is upgraded to Coffee Guy." Nathan looked confused. Evelyn sighed. "Please don't ask." Melissa extended a hand. "I'm Melissa." "Nathan." "I know." She smiled brightly. "You've become department entertainment." Nathan looked at Evelyn. "Should I be worried?" "Probably." Melissa laughed. "I like him." "You've known him 12 seconds." "I'm an excellent judge of character," Evelyn muttered. "Your last boyfriend sold cryptocurrency from his mother's garage." "Nobody's perfect." Nathan laughed. Melissa pointed triumphantly. "See? I told you." He laughs. One afternoon, Nathan arrived 20 minutes late. For the first time, he looked frustrated. "I'm sorry. There was an accident on the bridge." Lily looked at him carefully. "You called." "I did." "You said you'd be late." "I did." She nodded. "Good." He frowned slightly. "Good?" "My teacher says trust isn't about never making mistakes." She zipped up her backpack. "It's about letting people know." Nathan looked at Evelyn. Neither spoke, because both of them understood exactly how important those words were. As spring turned toward summer, a routine quietly developed. Nathan picked Lily up from robotics club every Wednesday. Evelyn joined them afterward for dinner. Sometimes pizza, sometimes tacos. Once, Nathan attempted homemade lasagna. The smoke alarm objected violently. Lily recorded the entire event on her tablet. She titled the video, "Evidence that Adults Need Supervision." One evening, the 3 of them sat on a blanket, near the river watching boats pass, beneath the bridge. Lily lay on her stomach drawing turtles wearing astronaut helmets. Naturally, Nathan looked toward Evelyn. "I've wanted to ask something." She waited. "You've never said why you became a physical therapist." She smiled softly. "My grandmother." He listened. "She had a stroke when I was 16. For months she couldn't walk. I watched one therapist help her believe movement was possible again." She looked toward Lily. "I realized healing isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's helping someone take one more step than yesterday." Nathan nodded slowly. "That sounds like you." "What does?" "You build people back." The sentence settled gently between them. Evelyn realized no one had ever described her work that way before. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Evelyn found herself sitting alone on the porch again. Only this time, she wasn't thinking about the past. She was thinking about the future. Not marriage, not romance, nothing that far ahead. Simply possibility. It surprised her, because possibility had once frightened her. Now, it simply felt like another word for tomorrow. Her phone buzzed. A message from Nathan. "Thank you for trusting me with today." She stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed back, "Thank you for earning another Saturday." 3 dots appeared almost immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, one simple sentence arrived. "I'll keep earning them." Evelyn smiled. Not because she believed promises anymore, because she had started believing patterns, and week after week, Nathan Brooks kept showing up. For Lily. For himself. And perhaps, one quiet Saturday at a time, for the family he had once been too afraid to become. Summer arrived quietly. Not with a dramatic heat wave. Just longer evenings, crickets after sunset, and Lily announcing that sandals were now officially mandatory. Nathan had been part of their Saturdays for almost 3 months. Every week, without exception. He never canceled. Never arrived late again. Never made promises he couldn't keep. Evelyn noticed because she had spent years believing. Consistency was the rarest form of love. Now she watched it happen one ordinary day at a time. On the first Saturday in June, Lily invited Nathan to her school's family science fair. It isn't really optional, she explained over breakfast. Nathan raised an eyebrow. I wasn't aware I'd already committed. You did. When? You accepted the temporary dad license. She took another bite of pancakes. Clause 4. There was a clause 4? There were 12 clauses. Nathan looked at Evelyn. I only read the front. You should always read contracts. He laughed. I suppose I deserve that. The science fair occupied the entire elementary school gymnasium. Parents wandered between colorful displays. Children proudly explained volcanoes, robots, insects, and solar systems. Lily's project stood near the center. Its title read, Why Sea Turtles Survived Dinosaurs. Nathan spent nearly 15 minutes listening as Lily enthusiastically explained migration patterns, ocean currents, and climate adaptation. When she finished, he applauded. Not loudly, not to attract attention, just enough for her to know he'd listened. Her teacher smiled. Mr. Brooks? Nathan hesitated. Before he could finish, Lily answered. He's my dad. The words arrived so naturally that none of them were prepared. Nathan looked down at her. You called me... She shrugged. It seemed accurate. His eyes filled immediately. He blinked once, twice, trying unsuccessfully to hide it. Evelyn quietly looked away. Some moments deserved privacy, even in a crowded school gym. Driving home, Lily sat in the back seat reading her participation ribbon. I've decided something. Evelyn smiled. Should I be worried? Probably not. She looked out the window. I think families are like gardens. Nathan glanced into the rearview mirror. How so? You can't make flowers grow faster. She smiled thoughtfully. You just keep watering them. Neither adult spoke for several seconds, because somehow, an 8-year-old had summarized everything they'd spent months trying to learn. A week later, Nathan invited them to see a community housing project his company had completed. Not luxury apartments, affordable homes built for teachers, nurses, firefighters, and veterans. Children rode bicycles through newly planted streets. Fresh paint still covered the porches. Lily looked around with wide eyes. You built this? Nathan nodded. A lot of people built it. But you helped? I did. She looked up at him. My mom helps people walk again. You help people have somewhere to walk. Nathan stared at her, then quietly smiled. I've never thought about it like that. That afternoon, one of the construction supervisors approached Nathan. Sir. He nodded politely, then noticed Evelyn and Lily. His expression softened. We've heard a lot about them. Nathan looked embarrassed. You have? The supervisor laughed. Every Monday. He turned toward Evelyn. For years, he only talked about buildings. He smiled knowingly. Now he mostly talks about an 8-year-old who keeps correcting his turtle facts. Lily crossed her arms. Accuracy matters. It certainly does. Nathan rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't realize people noticed. They noticed. That evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Nathan remained on the porch while Evelyn collected empty lemonade glasses. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass. Fireflies blinked across the yard. I owe you another apology. She looked at him. You've apologized enough. Not for this. He rested his elbows on his knees. I've been thinking about those 8 years. She waited. I missed her first steps. Her first words. Her first day of school. The first time she rode a bicycle. His voice stayed steady. I can't get any of that back. No. I know. Silence. I used to think regret was punishment. He looked toward the garden Lily had planted. Now I think regret is responsibility. Evelyn watched him carefully. What do you mean? It means I don't spend my life wishing I could change yesterday. He met her eyes. I spend it making tomorrow better. She realized, That was the first time he'd spoken about the past, without asking anything from her. Not forgiveness, not another chance. Simply acceptance. Late that night, Evelyn found Lily still awake. The bedside lamp glowed softly. Can't sleep? Lily shook her head. I was thinking. Dangerous activity. I know. She smiled. Mama? Yes? If you hadn't told him. Evelyn sat beside her. Would he still have been missing me? The question stole her breath. Yes. Even without knowing? I think so. Lily nodded slowly. I'm glad you told him. So am I. Lily reached for her mother's hand. You know something? What? I don't think he came back because he wanted another chance. Evelyn looked at her. I think he came back because he finally became someone who knew how. Those words stayed with Evelyn long after the bedroom light turned off. Because children often notice the truth, long before adults were ready to admit it.